Hello everyone, my name is Kay and welcome to Midlife Crisis, the show where I talk about every major DC crossover event in chronological order. This week we are continuing our deep dive into Forever Evil with some singular tie-ins. Every single series going on at DC at the time had tie-ins to Forever Evil that were like 23.1, 23.2, etc., etc., and they all focused on a different supervillain. Some of them were just origin stories, so I have decided not to include those. Some of them were original stories that take place during Forever Evil, and some of them were a mix of both, so I have the latter included in this video. If you haven't seen part 1 of Forever Evil, then go back and watch that video before watching this. And without further ado, let's get straight into our first tie-in, which is Aquaman 23.1, written by Jeff Johns and Tony Bedard, with art by Claude Saint-Aubin. We begin in Belle Reve, where Amanda Waller is trying to convince David Hyde, aka Black Manta, to join the Suicide Squad. She says that, according to the database, David Hyde used to be a treasure hunter with his father. They stole something from Atlantis. Aquaman came to get revenge, and according to Manta, he killed his father. And ever since then, he's been trying to get revenge against Arthur Curry. And Amanda Waller says, but what happens if you kill Arthur Curry? What happens if you kill Aquaman? Where is your rage going to go after that? If you join the Suicide Squad, you can put your rage towards other things. And that is when Belle Reve is attacked by Power Ring and Deathstorm of the Crime Syndicate. And Amanda is like, oh shit, they've just broken into Belle Reve. First it was Argus, now Belle Reve. Get Black Manta to the holding cell for the Suicide Squad. I'm getting the hell out of here. And the guards are like, come on, Manta, come with us. You heard what the lady said. And then they get pulled off panel and eaten by King Shark, who shows up at Manta's cell in order to invite him to join the Crime Syndicate. He gives Manta one of the coins and is like, hey, you're a pretty terrible dude. You're exactly the kind of guy that they would want. It's great because David doesn't really talk much throughout this issue. While all of this is going on, all these criminals are causing a ruckus, he just walks through everything, all of this carnage. One of the guards tries to get him to come with them. He's like, hey, we got a gun. You're not bulletproof, so we can just shoot you. And David just answers him by using the coin that he was given to slit the guy's throat. And so the guy's just left to bleed out. He finds the personal effects room, which is where all of their weapons and gear are kept. He goes in there, he sees that Orm, aka Ocean Master, Arthur's brother, is in there grabbing his stuff too. They have a little bit of an awkward moment where they're just grabbing their stuff. Obviously, David hates Orm as well, because Orm comes from the ocean, and David hates all Atlanteans. I imagine they were just awkwardly like, oh, Orm? Manta? And then they just grabbed their stuff and left. There's a helicopter here, and they're like, guy, we gotta get out of here, because all sorts of shit is going down. We're the only helicopter still up in the air. But Black Manta grabs onto the helicopter with a grappling hook, zips up, throws one of the guys out of the helicopter, and takes over it. He then flies over to the watchtower where the Crime Syndicate are having their meeting. He unites with all of the villains there. We get to see him getting Aquaman's trident like he did in the Forever Evil issue. And this other villain next to him, who is like Scuba Man or something, I don't know this guy's name, is like, oh my god, Aquaman's dead, isn't that awesome? And Black Manta just looks at him. You can tell he's pissed because Aquaman's dead. And after this, we get to see the Monocle die again, because we have to see that moment again. I guess Jeff Johns was like, we gotta kill Monocle again and show the readers. Black Manta walks away from the crowd without saying anything. He walks over to the ocean. He throws the coin in the ocean. I guess he's leaving the Crime Syndicate now because he has no reason to really be Black Manta anymore. He goes over to the graveyard where his father is buried, and he kneels next to his father's grave, and he's like, Dad, it's over. And then he hears a massive boom sound because Ultraman flies by him because the sun is out, and Ultraman can't stand the sun. He's weak to it. So this is the moment where he was pushing the moon in front of the sun. And so he does that, and it causes the tides to rise. It sends them into chaos, because that's what happens when you mess with the moon. You mess with the tides, and it causes a tsunami. And David runs away from the tsunami, but it catches up to him, and he gets submerged by it, but he's able to use Aquaman's trident to keep himself from being washed away by the tsunami. But then he sees his father's coffin being swept away by the tsunami, and he is face to face with his father's skeleton, his father's remains, and they just get decimated by the tsunami and washed away. It's hilariously horrific, just seeing his father essentially die again, or be ripped away from him again. It is insane. I saw this, I was like, oh my god, this is horrifying. At the same time, kind of hilarious. What's not hilarious is all the people that died from Ultraman messing with the moon and with the tides. And he's just like, oh shit, I forgot about the tides. Oh well. And then he leaves. And now David has a reason to continue being Black Manta. He wants revenge against the crime syndicate for what they just did to his father's remains. Really good tie-in issue. Can't wait to see if this gets followed up on in Forever Evil. I want to see David get his revenge against Ultraman. I hope that happens. I hope he gets to fight Ultraman. I imagine he will, because this was written by Jeff Johns, and Jeff Johns writes the main series. Be kind of crazy if he did this and then forgot about it. Aquaman 23.2, written by Jeff Johns and Tony Bedard, with art by Geraldo Borges and Roy Jose. We begin with Orm meeting with his lawyer after the events of Throne of Atlantis, where he tried to invade Earth with his Atlantean forces and take over everything because he believes that Atlanteans are supreme to humans. But his lawyer is trying to use some information that he's gained to help Orm avoid the death sentence. According to his lawyer, there is evidence that one of Orm's followers was mostly behind the invasion, and they can use that. And Orm doesn't give a shit about the trial at all, because he sees himself above humans. He's like, I am an Atlantean. I'm not even going to go to your trial. Why would I? Why would I go to a trial for humans? All I care about is getting out of here and going straight to the ocean. And then a guard arrives with a bottle of water, and the lawyer is like, hey, what are you doing here? And the guard is like, well, I heard this guy needs water in order to survive, so I came to give him a bottle of water. And the lawyer is like, what are you talking about? This guy's a murderer, like, why are you helping him? And the guard is like, yeah, I don't agree with what he did, but I'm not the judge, and neither are you. And the lawyer's like, let's hope you've got 11 more people that think that way about you. Then the power goes out, an earthquake happens, and the entire room collapses, killing Orm's lawyer. Because everybody is breaking out of the prison, doesn't really matter anyway, because Orm can just escape now. He has an opportunity, he listens to all the criminals, they're like, yeah, they're breaking us out, let's get out of here. And Orm's like, cool. He goes and grabs his stuff, he's got his trident, he sees Black Manta leaving on the helicopter. It's almost like that was happening in a different tie-in. And he hears somebody asking for help, pleading for help. And it's the guard that helped him earlier. He's like, oh, please, I got jumped by some criminals. Can you please help me? Please don't let me suffer. And Orm is like, you helped me earlier, so I can only do the same for you. I would not leave someone like you to suffer. He reaches over, he puts his hand on the guard's face. He's like, be brave. This will soon pass. Thank you for your kindness, human. And he breaks the guy's neck, killing him. Now, I don't think he had to kill him. I'm pretty sure if he'd have just taken him to the hospital, he would have been fine. But I guess Orm has just been taught to just put people out of their misery when he thinks that they are dying. Like, he just saw this guy, he's been in war for so long that he's like, oh yeah, this guy just needs to die. That's the easiest way to have him be at peace. And the guard, before he died, also told Orm where the ocean was. He was like, oh, 10 miles in that direction. And so Orm starts walking towards that direction. He's like, oh, walking. How tedious. We then see a diner called Hank's Diner, where they're closing up, and a couple of criminals break in and kill Hank. Poor Hank, just cleaning up the place, gets decimated by this guy, and then they decide to go after this woman, and that's when Orm arrives. He's like, humans, where is the ocean? The criminals are like, you chose the wrong place to come in, you fish freak. They call him New Fish. New Fish, you will not address me as that again, surface dweller. I don't think I like his tone. So the criminals decide to try and fight Orm. Worst mistake they possibly make. Punches him in the face. Orm is just like, you shouldn't have done that. And then we just see this guy get thrown out of Hank's Diner, blood spilling out of him. It's assumed that he just got forked by the trident and then thrown out. And then Orm kills the other guy. The other guy's pleading. And this woman is like, oh, please, don't kill me. And he's like, where's the ocean? It's a mile or so down the road. Please don't kill me. I have a little boy. What are you doing? And he starts taking his clothes off. She has to kind of look away. And he puts on his costume. And he's like, I'm preparing myself to take back the throne that is rightfully mine. And I long to leave this dirty world. I can smell the poisons you have tainted the ground and sea with. I can taste the toxins in the air you breathe. You kill the environment that provides for you. And worse yet, you kill one another. There is no murder in Atlantis. There is no political divide. I would not allow it. I would never allow my kingdom to fall into misery such as your world has. Bro, you were literally just killing people moments ago. You've killed a bunch of people so far. You killed a guy just to put him out of his misery, even though he probably could have survived. And yet he's talking as if he's going to go back to Atlantis and there's going to be no death. Like, how can somebody murder like this? It just goes to show just how crazy Orm is. Like, how hypocritical he is as a person. The woman asks for Orm's help to save her son Tommy because he's at her friend's house and he might be in danger. He's only 8 years old, and that's not enough to convince Orm because he's like, oh, when I was 8 years old, I was dealing with the plights of war. I was having to kill people and stuff. He should be old enough in order to protect himself. And he just leaves. And she still tries to get him to help save her son because she sees her son and her son is being kidnapped by some criminals, and Orm just chooses to ignore her still and leaves, and she gets shoved to the ground, and her son is like, Mommy! And she's like, Tommy, run! And Orm just walks into the sea, ignoring what is going on, or like he's listening to it, but he's choosing to ignore it. Somebody, please help! He runs into the water, dives in, and then submerges again, and it's like, 8. 8 is too young. And he runs back to the shore, because even Orm has a conscience. He can't let an 8-year-old kid die. So we show that he is more complicated than we think. Like, he's not pure evil. It would be interesting to see if we get to see the climax of this, if we get to see Orm save this family. We could. It might happen in Forever Evil. I highly doubt it. It's just assumed he goes back, he kills those criminals, he saves the son and the mother, and presumably the friend as well. So far, these tie-ins are pretty good. I'm hoping that we get more of this kind of stuff. Batman and Robin issue 23.1, written by Peter J. Tomasi with art by Gilliam March. This might be my favorite Forever Evil tie-in so far. I haven't even read very many, but this is already my favorite. And it's going to be hard to top this one. I've always been a big fan of Two-Face as a character. He's always been one of my favorite Batman villains. And I think this cements him as one of, if not my favorite Batman villain. Because this is how you write Two-Face. I've always been a big fan of Two-Face being very strict with his coin flipping rule. I mentioned it in the Forever Evil issue. And Peter J. Tomasi, he gets it. He gets it. Tomasi gets it. He gets that Two-Face listens to the coin flip and never veers away from it. Ever. And so in this issue, he's gonna flip the coin. He says, heads, I save Gotham. Tails, I make it bleed. But before the coin can land, Scarecrow arrives and takes the coin from him. And we get a little bit of an alternate take on what happened during Forever Evil. In Forever Evil, Scarecrow went to Arkham Asylum, where he invited Two-Face, Poison Ivy, and that to join the Secret Society. Two-Face flipped his coin, it landed on heads, and he joined the Secret Society. This version, it is just Two-Face and Scarecrow, and they meet on top of the bat signal, which is a nice touch, and Two-Face gets pissed at Scarecrow because he stopped his coin flip, and Scarecrow was like, "Whoa, bud, don't kill me yet. I just want to tell you that the Secret Society have sent me to go around and recruit people, and you gotta make a choice. Pick a hand. There's a coin in each hand, one of them's your coin, one of them is the Secret Society's coin," and Two-Face is like, "Just give me back my coin, and I won't kill you," and then put the coin in your mouth, and send you off to the ferryman. Eventually, he gives Two-Face the coin, and Two-Face says, "I'll join the Secret Society if the coin tells me to." So he flips the coin, it lands on heads, he joins the society. He's like, "Cool, now that I've joined the society, I can continue the coin flip that I was doing before you interrupted me. Heads, I save Gotham. Tails, I let it bleed." He flips the coin, it lands on heads, and he starts doing exactly what he said he would do, saving Gotham. He goes around and starts shooting criminals who are attacking innocent people. He doesn't kill every criminal. Some of them he rounds up so that he can put them on trial. But that's exactly what he's doing. He's going around Gotham, capturing criminals, bringing them to the courthouse. And he heads into the courthouse where he has memories of when he was an attorney. He finds his office where he sees that a lot of the people he worked with previously are all being held hostage by these criminals. And he goes in and he's like, "I don't like the fact that you are trying to execute people in my office." And he shoots one of the criminals, and they're like, "Whoa, what are you doing? Why are you attacking us?" I guess it's true what they were saying that you were doing. You were playing both sides down on the streets. It's like, I'm not playing both sides. I'm playing me. Like, I'm playing my side. The coin told me to save Gotham, and that's exactly what I'm doing. And so Two-Face holds his own trials for every single criminal. And the way he decides their fate is by flipping the coin. Heads, you get life imprisonment. Tails, you get death. First guy gets death, shoots him in the head. Second guy gets life. Like, life? For what? Stealing baby formula? Yeah, from a pregnant mother with 3 kids. Next defendant. It's so good. This whole issue is amazing. I love it so much. One of the guys that comes up, his name is Boothead. He's one of the guys that was in Harvey's old office. "Who makes you judge, jury, and executioner?" "Me." Two-Face flips the coin, lands on Tails, shoots him in the head. Scallop tries to kill Two-Face by shooting these batarangs. She has this ability to shoot batarangs out of her skin, or these things that look like batarangs. One of them goes into Harvey's head, and he just, without flinching, pulls it out of his head. Heads, life. Tails, death. And that is when the trial is interrupted by a group of criminals working for the Secret Society. They have all of Harvey's former workmates, and they tell Harvey that the crime syndicate wants them to execute all of these people, burn their bodies on a bridge, and display them. And they want Harvey to be the one to do it. And Harvey's like, "I'm not just gonna do it for you. I have to flip the coin to decide whether or not I will." And he flips the coin. Heads, life, imprisonment. Tails, death. It lands on heads, life. So he wants all of these people that he used to work with to get life imprisonment. I'm sure he probably would have let them out afterward. I don't think he would have let them rot in prison forever. But these guys don't like that answer, and they just gun all of these innocent people down. It's really sad. All of Harvey's former friends just get gunned down, and this pisses Harvey off. "You do realize you've completely pissed on my wishes and negated this entire deal." And he pulls out his guns, and he just decimates all of these guys. He just riddles them with bullets, kills them all, takes the coin, the syndicate coin, puts it in his mouth. "Give my regards to the ferryman." And then he heads outside. "Half of the time I'm gone. I don't know where. Sometimes I don't even know when. I flip a piece of silver over 90 years old and it happens. Everything changes. The Justice League is dead. Batman is dead. My city is dark, exposed, vulnerable. It makes me want to cry. It makes me want to smile. Heads, I save Gotham. Tails, I make it bleed. And his coin lands on Tails, which means unfortunately Two-Face is gonna go back to his villainous ways and attack Gotham. And that is where the tie-in issue ends. It's such a good tie-in issue. It really shows the complications of Two-Face as a character, how complicated he is. Yes, he is the guy that flips a coin, but it's the fact that he's the guy that flips a coin that is what makes him so interesting when you really hone in on that. When written correctly, when written this way, which I think is the correct way, Two-Face is not a villain, he is an anti-hero. Batman and Robin 23.3, written by James Tynion with art by Jeremy Horn and John Roche. This is one of those issues that is a mix between origin story and stuff that is going on in the present day in this new world created by the crime syndicate. It revolves around Ra's al Ghul being visited by someone who was sent by the crime syndicate to get him to join the secret society. So this guy shows up. I don't know who this villain is supposed to be. Later on, it's shown that he has electrical powers, so I assumed he was the electrocutioner. We never actually get his name, but he shows up and he's like, "Hey, Ra's, join the secret society, because you know you want to. We know that you have, ideals when it comes to taking over the world and changing it into a way that you see fit, and you're best to do that on our side." And Ra's answer to that is to kill all of his men with his Man-Bat army, because he's got a bunch of Man-Bats on his side. So he kills all of these guys' men, and he's like, "I'm not going to kill you. Instead, I'll play around with you for a bit. Let's have a sword fight. And while we have this sword fight, you can tell me everything you know about my origin story." And so that's how we get the origin story and all the stuff that Ra's has done over the years. It's this guy recounting those events while fighting Ra's al Ghul. While they are fighting, this guy makes a terrible choice to bring up Talia al Ghul, who I think is recently dead, because they talk about her as if it's past tense. She's dead at this point, and Ra's is like, "How dare you bring up that name? Bite your tongue." And he starts trying to get under Ra's skin by saying, "Oh, one of your things that you've always tried to do is get an heir, and one of those heirs you hoped was going to be Damian Wayne, who is the son of Bruce Wayne, but that didn't play out the way that you were hoping. Instead, he became Batman's sidekick." Ra's knocks the sword out of the guy's hand. It's like, "How illuminating to hear an outside perspective. But if there is a point, I suggest you reach it. The field has changed. My masters have rewritten the game. The Justice League is gone. Forever. The Batman is dead. The world belongs to the secret society of supervillains. There are none capable of stopping our onslaught now. We will reshape the world in our image. Among our numbers, you will be able to achieve what you would have achieved years ago if not for the Bat." And Ra's just kind of laughs in his face and is like, "You said that he's dead, but I've looked deep into his soul, and I have a feeling that Batman is still alive. He's not somebody that really goes down so easily. But I'm just going to reject your invitation. Your masters are cowards not to come here and make it themselves." And that's when this guy is like, "Fine then, I guess I'll just have to kill you." And he uses his electric powers, he shoots them at Ra's, but Ubu, Ra's his second in command, jumps in the way, gets electrocuted, and he's like, "You will die!" And then the guy's like, "No thanks," and just grabs Ubu's face and kills him. As far as I could tell, Ubu is dead, which is really sad. I like Ubu. It seems like writers don't like him, because every time he shows up in a book that I've read, I'm pretty sure he dies or he gets really badly hurt. Like, this guy definitely has severe plot armor. There was nothing stopping Ubu from just grabbing his head, and Ubu always seemed like the kind of guy who could probably crush a guy's head with his bare hand, right? Like, look at him. Is at this moment that a couple of arrows that are attached to ropes shoot out of some nearby guns that are in the wall. Raish activated these, and they shoot into this guy's arms, destroying his electric generators that he's got, and it hangs him up in the air, and this was a trap that Raish set. He knew this guy was coming the entire time. The only reason he's in this tower to begin with is because he knew that the crime syndicate had sent him. And he says that the crime syndicate sent this guy as a sacrifice because they thought that sending Raish a sacrifice would convince him to join them. And he's like, no, but it's not. It's not going to work. I'm happy to have the sacrifice. I'm going to let you bleed out to death. But what I'm going to do is, instead of joining the crime syndicate, I'm going to let them take over the world, see what kind of world they create, and then the demon will unleash, and I will recreate the world the way I want it to be, as I've always done. Because that's what my goal has always been. And that's where it ends. It ends with Raish just being like, I'm not taking part in Forever Evil. I'm just going to watch it play out and see what happens. Not a very good tie-in unless you just care about Ra's al Ghul's origin story, which I don't. There are ways that you can mix the origin story with the present day stuff and have it be good. This is not an example of that. The next tie-in that we're talking about, though, the Killer Croc one, that is a good example of mixing the origin of the character in with what they are doing during Forever Evil. This time it's written by Tim Seeley, with art by Francis Portela and Tamu Mori. This issue serves as a little horror movie for Killer Croc, revolving around 3 GCPD members, Detective Jack Boone, Detective Joanna Greer, and Captain Jaime Sanchez, who have all come to Gotham sewers in search of something, and something is stalking them. That thing is Killer Croc. He turns a valve on one of the sewer pipes, which causes a whole bunch of water to flood through the sewers, submerging the GCPD members, and then he just comes in and he rips apart most of them. So the only 2 that are left are Jack and Joanna, because Jaime dies here. We don't actually see him die. He's the only one of these guys that we don't get to see get ripped apart, but he's dead. We don't ever see him again. It happened so quickly they didn't really get a good glimpse at Killer Croc, so all they know is that some kind of monster just killed their friends and fellow workmates. They've also lost all of their guns because of Croc. Jack only has his side pistol with him now. It's at this moment that they see a whole bunch of people in the sewers with them, and their first idea is to go up and ask for help. At least that's what Joanna does. She walks over to this little girl and asks for help against this big green monster that attacked them, and this little girl answers her by hitting her with her shovel, breaking Joanna's leg. It turns out that these people are working with Killer Croc. After this, they turn off the lights in the sewers, so now Joanna and Jack have to make their way through in the dark. Eventually, they come across a door, and Joanna is like, we gotta get over to that door, because if we get there, we might be able to get away from that monster. But Joanna's leg is broken, so she can't get over, so Jack is gonna have to do it. So he jumps over to the door, and when he opens it, he finds the body of a man named Houlihan. And we learn in a flashback that Houlihan, I'm pretty sure he was a smuggler. That's as much as I can gather from this. He was a smuggler that kind of smuggles money for the GCPD, but he's gotten to a point where he doesn't want to do it anymore. And in response, Jack shoots him in the head and kills him and dumps him in the water. Because he's like, oh, well, if you're not going to be smuggling money with us, the money that you smuggle is going to end up going to the criminals, and nobody would like that, so we might as well just dispose of you. It's also good to note that Houlihan only has one arm. That will actually be important later. As Houlihan's body is dumped into the ocean, it's also worth noting that there are people sitting in one of the sewer entrances watching this happen. Jack says that Houlihan's body still has a key on him, because it turns out they came here to get a key. We learned that from a flashback where the GCPD members were sent an anonymous note saying that somebody has found evidence against them proving that they murdered Houlihan, and that the evidence is the key, so that is why they came down to the sewers. It was to retrieve the key from Houlihan so that they could get away with killing him. As he grabs the key and is like, "Hey, Joanne, I got the key," Joanne's like, "Yeah, that's awesome," but Killer Croc is right behind her, and he chomps down on her and kills her. There's a weird moment in this where he sees her get chomped, and he's like, "Joanna!" And then after that, he's like, "Joanna? Like, what are you asking? You literally just saw her die. Why are you asking, like, why are you saying her name as if you don't know what happened to her?" There's blood all over the dock. There's blood in the water. She is dead. Jack tries to get the hell out of there. He runs away from Croc and he starts shooting at Croc with his pistol. Obviously doesn't do anything to him because Croc has really tough reptile skin. And I love how Croc is just walking towards him. Also, he looks a lot like the version from Arkham Asylum, like just straight up ripped from that game. Even has bandages on his hands, which I think is a Arkham thing. It's just so funny that he's just casually walking behind Jack. Jack isn't looking where he's going. Maybe he should, because he would see that there is a dead end ahead, but he doesn't. He falls straight over this dead end, down below into a bunch of wreckage and metal, which stabs through him, so he's left pretty fucked up, and Croc jumps down, and Jack is like, "What are you doing? Like, what is this about? You killed my friends. Was it about the territory? Was it about money? What was it about?" And Croc just grabs his head and kills him off panel. I think he crushes his head with his hand. I would assume so, because he's got blood all over his hand. After he kills Jack, he just sits there and looks really sad. And he has reasons to be. Because the reason he killed Jack and these members of the GCPD is because 26 years ago, when Waylon Jones was but a kid, he met a man named Houlihan. And Houlihan only had one arm. So he was able to relate to Waylon, because Waylon was born with deformities. And so all the other kids, everyone treated him differently. Even his mom. And Houlihan was the only person to treat him like a human. Like he should have been treated. He even bought him ice cream. And he says, "I know you, Waylon. I know that one day you could be the president. Heck, you could even be the king." And that's why Waylon killed these GCPD guys. Because they killed one of his closest friends. Probably the closest person that he had to a father. We then get to see Waylon and his community that he has created within the sewers. I'm assuming these are all outcasts from society that he has welcomed into his home. And they're having a funeral for Houlihan. It's actually pretty lovely. They set his body on fire. It's like a Viking funeral. They send him off. And he says that he doesn't care about what's going on the surface. He knows that there are people up there that are fighting for territory, money. He's just happy to have his society down here. And he has eyes and ears that let him know what's going on up there. Which is why it was important to note that those guys in the flashback were watching Houlihan's body get dumped into the sewer. That's how Croc knew about that. Because they saw it happen and then they went and told him. So while all the villains are going up on land thanks to the crime syndicate taking over Gotham City, Croc isn't, because he just doesn't give a shit about that. Because he's where he wants to be, which is below the city. And that's where the tie-in ends. The Two-Face one is still my favorite one, but this one was really good. I think it gave a really good insight into Croc as a person. I skipped over most of Croc's origin stuff. I wanted to focus more on the Houlihan part of his origin, because that was actually important to the story that was going on. But there is more of his origin covered in this, and if you want to see that, then I recommend going and reading this issue. The Flash issue 23.1, otherwise known as The Grodd Story, written by Brian Buccellato with art by Chris Batista and Tom Nguyen, a name that we are familiar with. This issue is exactly what you think it is. It is, what is Grodd doing during Forever Evil? If you've been keeping up with the Flash videos that I've been doing, you would know that the last time we saw Gorilla Grodd, he was trying to gain the power of the Speed Force, and he got trapped inside the Speed Force by Barry Allen, who said, "Fuck you, I control the Speed Force, you're never getting out of here unless I say you can." And that was it. But Forever Evil rolled around. I mentioned this in part 1 of my Forever Evil video. The crime syndicate had gotten the secret society of supervillains together. All the villains were there. And who was in that group? Gorilla Grodd. Which immediately pissed me off and raised questions because he was stuck in the Speed Force. How did he get out? Well, this issue tells us how he got out, but it's not the answer I wanted. I wanted them to show it. They don't. So the issue begins with Solivar and the gorillas from Gorilla City coming to Central City to help clean up after the guerrilla warfare event. They've put a statue here of the Flash. The gorillas made a statue for Central City, and they also have made a pact with Central City to unite as one. Humans and gorillas. Everything's great. Like, literal peace between these two civilizations. First time we've ever seen this in DC Comics. And who is here to ruin this? First of all, Ultraman, because he covers the sun with the moon. We have to show that in every single tie-in that we do. But also Gorilla Grodd, who shows up. How did he get out of the Speed Force? The crime syndicate got him out of the Speed Force. That's all he says. They don't say how. Like, how did Johnny Quick, I'm assuming it was Johnny Quick, how did Johnny Quick get into the Speed Force? The only person who has the ability to leave and enter the Speed Force at will is Barry Allen. Anybody else who has gone in there, it's been entirely by accident. So already we're screwing up this lore that Francis Manapul had put in his own series. Like, can you at least show us a flashback of them freeing Gorilla Grodd so that it's not just half-assed like this? Grodd shows up and he's like, "No, we're not doing this. We're not teaming up with the humans. Screw this Flash statue." He knocks it over and Solivar tries to convince him that it's over. That he can't do this anymore. That the humans and the gorillas are now at peace and that they are determined to keep it that way. But then Grodd starts speaking to him through his mind, and it is revealed that Gorilla Grodd has telepathy now because he was in the Speed Force. Being in the Speed Force sped up his evolution. So usually it's only the elder gorillas that can have telepathy, but because he was in the Speed Force, his evolution got sped up, and now Gorilla Grodd has telepathy. And he doesn't just have telepathy, he has telekinesis as well. And he controls one of the humans' helicopters and threatens to kill them. And immediately, the CCPD draw their guns on Gorilla Grodd, and Solivar has to tell them to stand down and not start anything. And then Pied Piper comes in. He shows up for 2 seconds, just to get his ass handed to him by Grodd. Like, this is just character defamation. He appears and just gets backhanded by him, and that is it. That is the last time we see Pied Piper. Literal 3 panels of him. And then Gerda, and a character known as Chroma, who is actually Rainbow Raider. They just renamed him because they were like, oh, Rainbow Raider is a lame name. And Tar Pit, they're all here, and they're like, hey, you know, the villains have taken over the city. Why don't you join us, Grodd? I know that's what you want. And Grodd is like, you think that's what I want? That's not what I want. I want the city to be mine and mine only. And he beats the shit out of everyone, including Gerda. He just smashes Gerda repeatedly, we see like bits of blood coming off, so it's almost like he's killed Gerda. He hasn't killed Gerda. I don't think you can kill Gerda. It'd be very hard to kill him. He's purely just made out of metal. Like, we've seen him get ripped in half, and he survived that. I don't actually like Gerda's redesign here. I prefer him to be a lot bigger and bulkier. He's way too small. It feels like they're trying to make him look more like the CW version from the Flash show. Grodd again tries to get the gorillas to stand by him and not the humans. And Solivar's like, we're at peace with the humans now, Grodd. And Grodd says that they will suffer the same fate as the humans if they don't side with him. And Solivar uses his mental abilities against Grodd. I cannot allow this, Grodd. It is wrong. You think you can get inside my head, Solivar? I am not your pawn. Grodd uses his telekinesis to pull the Flash symbol off of the Flash statue, and he throws it at Solivar, stabbing him in the chest. It doesn't kill him, but it does hurt him quite a bit. Solivar just got out of the hospital after what happened to him in guerrilla warfare, so it's unfortunate that this has happened to him now. But he just yanks that shit out, especially after Grodd destroys the helicopter that he's controlling, killing a whole bunch of humans. Like, this really upsets Solivar. Gorillas, Grodd has left us no choice. Attack! So Grodd faces the humans and the gorillas and uses his Speed Force abilities to just send everyone flying with an explosion of Speed Force energy. He's about to crack a guy's head, and Solivar is like, enough! Would you kill every man and ape to make your point? Every single one. Please stop. The fighting. It's over. Humans and apes, Grodd commands you. Stand before me. Apes, Solivar was wrong. His brand of peace was little more than bowing to humans in the name of unity. I cannot allow that. With our superior strength and intellect, we will build a gorilla nation, starting right here with Grodd City, our new home. Humans, take a good look at us. We are better than you. Your day is over, and those of you that live on to see the glory of Gorilla Nation, do so at my whim. I rule man and ape alike. Kneel before Grodd! And everybody kneels before him because he's using his telepathy to control everybody. Central City is then transformed into Grodd City. The humans are all placed in slave camps by Grodd. And Grodd also kills Chroma. He beheads him. So we get introduced to this new version of Rainbow Raider, and he dies in the same issue. Like, what the fuck? Tar Pit's telling other villains to stay out of Central City because it's not a good place to be right now. And Grodd has put Solivar and any of the other gorillas that betrayed him on display, chained to the Flash statue to humiliate them. And Solivar is just depressed over this. And one of the elders goes over to Grodd and is like, are you sure it's a good idea to be humiliating Solivar like this? You're saying that gorillas are above humans, and yet you are humiliating one of our fellow gorillas. Like, what does that tell everyone else? You are absolutely right. Clarity is important. There is no Flash coming to save the day. No human army to resist us. King Grodd has won. I have everything that I've ever wanted. Flash dead. The power of the light. A kingdom to do with as I wish. I am the master of all I see. This bores me. And then Grodd leaves. What is he up to? We will find out another time, because that is it for this week's video. We are done with our first load of tie-ins. Originally, I was going to cover the Justice League of America issue 7.2, which was the Killer Frost tie-in. But then I read through it and realized that it was mostly an origin, except for the final page, which is just her being like, oh, the crime syndicate have taken over the world, but all I really care about is fighting Firestorm, because I have this weird thing with him, but he's gone. So now what am I gonna do? And that's it. So, unfortunately, that's it for this week. I was hoping that there was gonna be more tie-ins, but like I said, so many of them are just origin stories. But out of the ones that we read this week, which weren't just origin stories, I'd say they were all pretty good. My least favorite one was probably the Ra's al Ghul one, just because that one was mostly an origin, and the stuff that wasn't origin stuff was not very interesting. My favorite one is easily the Two-Face one, That was really good. And then maybe after that, the Killer Croc one and the Gorilla Grodd one were kind of on the same level for me, where, you know, they did some interesting stuff with what those characters were doing during Forever Evil. Next week, we are back to the Forever Evil event itself, where we will be reading a couple more issues of Forever Evil and Justice League, as well as Justice League America, so I'm looking forward to that. I hope you are too. If you liked the video, then feel free to like and subscribe, and I'll see you next week. Have a good one.